it is the process.
Yeah.
I love delivering the commentaries, for example. I love delivering the commentaries. But in all seriousness, the process of sitting at the computer and coming up with the argument or the different lines or the different flow to it or whatever, that was a hell of a lot more fun than that 2 minutes that it took me to read it on the air.
Sure.
And then after I read it on the air, all the feedback that came in, the good and the bad, which I considered more of the process, if you will,
Right, yeah.
that was the best part. The actual culmination of the project itself, I'm like in your business of production, and I know how, God, I've said this to Greg 1,000 times, but I mean, some of the stuff that I would see you guys do, you just blow me away.
For me, I'm more of like the front end of it.
I'm just making it up. Of a similar nature or character.
JMKast. JMKast.
But we get shocked often by Chris.
If you Google my name, it always pulls up Ric Flair and Blackjack Mulligan. That's another story for another time, though.
Hello, it's the JMKast.
I'm Rick Mulligan.
What's my name?
I don't know. You take forever to announce
T.
it.
Johnson. Not Craig Nelson.
It's going to become a running bit for how long it takes you to say the letter.
Well, it's like that reporter. Who's the reporter? I think he's over at Fox, and he says like it takes him forever to like do it, and each time it gets longer and longer and longer and longer. He's a good reporter, but his out cue is like, I think it's Sean Rabb.
I've got a great one.
Sean Rabb. No, how does he do it?
I don't know.
Oh yeah, it's in the Fox 4 news. He had like this huge gap, and he just each time is different.
I used to work with a reporter named Scott Knoll, and I'm going to out you on this, Scott. This was his outro every time. Scott Knoll, News Channel 3, every time. And it was so opposite of his normal voice.
Oh yeah.
And every time he would do it, I'd be like, why do you do that? And he's like, I don't know.
Anyway, nobody wants to hear what we gotta say because what this is part 4.
If there is a part 4.
Yeah. If you see us, there's a part 4.
If you don't see us,
It's over.
Then you don't see us. This could just be going into the ether.
We're recording it because we think we might need
There's
a part
so much
4.
content.
The Dale experience. It was
so
greatness. I am very thankful that he wanted to join us
I don't think we can thank
and
him
share
enough.
his experience. And he, I'm sure he would have kept going. But
As early as we are in this podcast experience, to be able to pull from the wealth of people we know and have someone of that caliber agree to sit down and talk with us, even if it is on the phone, is awesome, and
it shows kind of what he thinks about us. And,
True.
Yeah.
Well, you have such a great relationship with him. I mean, and it's as I was listening to the podcast, you could hear that you guys have
Yeah.
He said your name probably like 15 times, and I think he said mine once. And I literally at one point wanted to be like, man, he doesn't even know my name, which was I know he does.
Of course,
but
he
when he
knows your
did say
name.
it, I was like, oh, he said my name. He remembers me. That was funny.
I get it. I
Yeah.
get it. I mean, I used to go in his office.
Right, I didn't work with him like you did.
Well, I didn't even it wasn't. I mean, I did work with him individually, but I would go into his office and just hang out with him.
Well,
And
I would
think
too,
That's
but
the
not
part.
as much, not near as much.
I think that's the part. Like he would chase me down across the newsroom
Oh,
and start giving me bad beats and poker, and I'd be like, Dale, you can't say all this in front of everyone. These people don't make the same kind of like shh, let's go to your office. And we'd go to his office, and then he would just like
played in some
tell
huge
me
games.
all the
he played in some
cool stuff he would tell me, and I cherish all those conversations, and I meant it. Like I almost tried to leave the week after him just because, and a lot had to do with my just working relationship with him, and
Well, his whole department, really.
and I did, I put together his last show.
Yeah. Which
a
is
lot of the opens.
You
and
have to
everything.
think for yourself. You have to, as he said in the interview, the reflecting back on the then afterwards going like, I did that. I realize I don't do that enough. And he brought up a point that I think I need to myself realize, like,
Exactly.
He's right. We are really good at what we do, and we really should have more moments of like reflection to be like, not everybody can do what we do.
Yeah, and then we have people like Dale, who is at the top of everything that respecting what we did. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that says something.
I agree.
I mean, I'll never forget the very first time I worked with Dale, and it was at the minor league baseball field there in Frisco.
Oh, Rough Riders?
Yeah, and at the
Were
time,
they the Rough Riders at the time?
yeah, they still are the Rough
Well,
Riders.
I didn't know if they had earlier.
Yeah.
Minor league teams change names a lot,
yeah.
so I wasn't sure.
And anyway, what I remember is that they gave him a suite because he was going to be there.
Okay.
Because
cool.
and they gave him a suite with like food and all that. So I had all the camera and stuff set up in the suite and to do all of his live hits and stuff. But I remember there was some kind of technical thing, like he wanted a monitor, and I couldn't get the monitor to work properly or something. And it wasn't my fault because we had some equipment that was kind of like dated sometimes.
You're in the field, it happens.
Yeah, so I couldn't make this thing work, and somehow at the very last second, right when we needed it, I think I figured out how to get the monitor in the suite to be able to use that, so he could. So, and anyway, he remembered that because he saw me work so hard at trying to.
You didn't just throw your hands up in the air and go screw it.
Yeah, or say I can't fix it. Like I kept at it, and and from then on he just like he even told me that then he said to me that basically what you said, like you didn't give up, you kept at it, and I was you have no idea how much I appreciate that.
And I'll bet any money had you not succeeded, he still would have been as appreciative because he would have realized that you didn't just give up. Because there's definitely, I mean, it sometimes,
but it worked out.
Sometimes you don't have a choice. It's just not going to work.
Yeah,
like it's just not. I had a reporter I worked with once when he wanted a monitor and I couldn't do it, and it wasn't from a lack of trying. And the man threw a temper tantrum.
Right,
he threw a childish temper tantrum.
And Dale was known. If you look on the internet, there's a time or two.
Sure.
But I mean, he demands not the word. He
expects.
We're market 5. He expects things to work and be right, and I don't blame him for that.
No, I don't either.
He's at the top of his profession. He wants everything to be professional.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny. I was thinking about this.
But things break.
So like when I mentioned off the very top of the very first episode, I said, 50 years of experience. And you kind of looked at me like, where did you come up with that? Like you thought I was just pulling it out of my butt. And it's like, I did a little bit of homework, but I realized like, oh man, he has almost as much experience. Like we have more combined in the industry. Like I was thinking years. I was like, between the two of us, we're probably at about 60 to 65 years of total experience.
Right.
And I'm like, man, he's almost himself got us eclipsed. Like he's not far behind himself.
Yeah, by himself. Well, the thing is, he's not going to stop. And
going in the new direction of what media is, which is what we're doing. It's the podcast world. I think he's smart to do it. And I think he's gonna. I'm predicting, and I have predicted. I've said it for a year. It will be huge.
And
I say that with
he's going to
confidence.
get some listeners. That's for sure.
I think he's going to be pleasantly surprised and shocked.
Who's going to have more listeners, Rick? JMKast.
I wish I could say it's us. I would love. You know what? If we can get one episode,
I'll be happy if just people listen to the Dale Hansen ones.
I think they will,
and I think people will, and I think people will appreciate what he has to say in them if they're Dale Hansen fans, and even if they're not Dale Hansen fans, he has a lot to say, and he has changed people's minds and affected people's lives.
Yeah,
And
that was so impactful when he talked about.
You could almost hear him choke up.
He did. He
Like,
definitely did.
Definitely
did.
That one with the one person
Man
that
who gave him the hug and said his dad called him, and it,
I mean, that was a moment.
I completely agree with his original comment in the commentary when he said, "I don't understand it, but I don't have to."
Right.
And it's like that for me in that moment, I totally had a different perspective. It's like, oh, I see what he's saying. And it's not that I was like hated, because I don't really hate anyone, or but it was like, oh, I get it. Like, okay. And it's like I almost realized, like, oh, I don't have to let that bother me. Not that it bothered me. It's like it changed. It was like a little like, oh, right. It's like there's other ways to look at this. And it was just kind of nice to hear someone of his caliber put it out there.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you, Dale. Once again, we appreciate you, and those stories. And there's so many more.
So many more.
Yeah. Hopefully he'll come on again.
Maybe we can get him back and just have him tell us bad beat poker stories where he talks about like there's one particular one from a former Rangers pitcher that he told me one time that I would love to hear again.
Yeah. Well, he told me one just yesterday for the pre-interview. He was talking about one with Kid Craddock.
I've heard a couple of those, but the one,
because Kid Craddock, he apparently he was a gambler. Like, he played some pretty crazy hands.
And Dale said he liked to needle too.
Yeah,
he loved needling. Like, he'd beat you and then he'd needle you, then he'd beat you.
But I mean, just listening to his poker games, like, who was there?
I asked him to deal once. I go, can I just come deal? Can I just be your dealer?
Because it was
I just wanted to sit in the room and deal.
I mean, that in itself made the story.
As a former Detroit Tiger fan, one of the people sitting in that table, and that gives a hint as to who I was talking about a minute ago, was sitting in that room, and I would have loved to have been able to talk to him.
Yeah. But anyway, the Dale Hansen Experience Part 4.
Yeah. Thank you. Listen, it's amazing.
Like, subscribe, share, comment,
do all that fun stuff. And trade with your friends like trading cards. Does that work? Can podcasts be traded like trading cards?
Sure. Anything you want to do. Share. You can share them. Yeah,
you can share them.
You can share them.
Share it on Facebook, share it on Twitter, share it on Instagram, share it on
Rick.
TikTok.
Let the people hear Dale. Yeah. They want to hear Dale.
Well, I know.
All right.
Sorry.
Okay. It's Dale time.
I said something on the air, and Dave Lane, the greatest general manager in the history of television, in my opinion, he came into my office and he goes, "Oh my gosh, Dale," he said, "I can't believe you said that last night." He said, "We're getting calls, people are upset, whatever." And I said, "Oh, I'm sorry about that." He goes, "Well, I told him, I explained to him that this is my favorite line." He goes, "I said, I just told him that, well, that's Dale. Sometimes he just fires it off on top of his head and he doesn't realize it until it's too late. And sometimes you just get caught." I went, "Oh, no, I wrote that." And he goes, "You wrote it?" He said, "Yeah, you wrote it and you still said it?" And I said, "Well, of course I did. I mean, I write everything. I mean, I like it. And I'm telling the truth, Rick, I tried real hard to make people think that I was making it up as I went along. And when I first started, this is one of my favorite examples. When I first started in Dallas, my whole deal was I hate sportscasters that give the ball score off the top. You know, they'll sit there like, the Mavericks are playing Game 3 with the Lakers, and they managed to win the game on a great shot by Mark Aguirre at the buzzer to beat the Lakers 85-84. Let's go to the tape. I'm like, for what? For what?
Yeah, you just told me what happened.
It's going to end up with Mark Aguirre hitting a basket. You won it 85-84. And they'll go through the highlights like this is really a big deal. Oh, look at this. The Lakers are on a 10-point run. Now the Mavericks have lost the lead. They're down 9. And I'm sitting there going, I'm going to guess they catch up. So I was doing it, and I was apparently the first guy to do it, at least the first guy that Ed Bark had ever seen do it. I never give the score. So I would start my sportscast, and I'd say, hey, the Mavericks and the Lakers are playing Game 3 of the playoffs tonight. Let's get to the highlights or whatever. And then I'd go through it and say, oh, look at this. Magic Johnson hits another shot. Oh, man. Oh, the Mavericks are down 10. They're dying here. They're dying. And then I build back up. And, oh, Bark acquired, hits the shot, and they win. They win. And Ed Bark actually wrote in the Dallas Morning News, Dale Hansen is so bad, and apparently he is so lazy, he doesn't even know who won the game when he's doing his sportscast.
Oh my God!
I swear to God.
Oh my God!
He's being inducted into something like Press Club Hall of Fame, and I'm emceeing. And I promise you, I'm bringing this story up.
Yeah, of course you're gonna roast him.
He literally wrote, Dale Hansen is flying by the seat of his pants and has no idea. I'm like, what kind of a stupid? So I called him and I said, Dad, let me explain something to you. I said, how is it possible that my shows are always right on time? I've got the right highlights. I've got the right score. How do you think that's possible? I mean, you really think it just kind of comes to me in the moment? and I mean, but people do. And at the same time, I mean, in all seriousness, I'm really glad they think that. And a lot of what people thought, oh, that's just Hansen being Hansen, when I would say something about Jerry Jones or the Cowboys. No, that was a line that I thought of earlier in the day or something, but I wrote it down. You know, I mean, right. I wanted to be sure I said it. And but I think if this is arrogant, so be it. But I think I had the ability, at least I hope I did. I had the ability to make people think that, I'm just talking to you. I'm just rambling off here. When in fact, the commentary was well thought out, well researched. Written and in some cases rewritten, not very often, but no, I put a little more work into it than for whatever reason a lot of people think I did. But that's okay. I hear that. I swear to you, I heard that all the time, including from the great Dave Lane.
I mean, there was a handful of times I remember you walking over to Matt Landy and I in edit and being like, can I read you guys something real quick? And you just would read it, like a section of it and, kind of get our feedback and then just, go back. And I just was so amazed by that process. And then to see it on the air an hour later and just be like, oh, wow, that was cool. Just to see, it was just so awesome.
Yeah. I mean, because I did want the feedback on it. Yeah. My favorite one was when I wrote the Michael Sam commentary.
Yeah.
And I read it to I read it to Sean Hamilton. He's like, yeah, I think that's fine. And then I read it to Arnold Payne. I would say a little more liberal than Sean was, and he goes, yeah, that's okay. And I'm like, well, hell, I'm thinking it's a little bit better than that. And so I read it to another couple of friends of mine. They go, yeah, that's fine. I'm like, fine. So I hit the air that night on the Michael Sam commentary, which is, I think far and away the biggest thing I ever did or ever wrote. And I thought, yeah, this is okay. This will work. This is fine. And then it became, 6,000 emails and 100 radio interviews and a trip to LA to be on the Ellen DeGeneres show and all the rest of it. Because, when it hit the air, obviously it came off. And even Sean called me after the show, and he's just raving about the commentary. And I said, so I guess you're saying it's okay. He goes, oh, no. He said, number one, the way you read it on the air and the way you read it at your desk was two different things, which I think is somewhat fair. Truth to that. Yeah.
That's fair.
But I did. I did that a lot. I'm glad you remember it. I would go to a lot of different people and say, here, look, what do you think of this? And I'd throw a line out or I'd throw a paragraph out and get the feedback. And sometimes it might even change what I wrote. Not very often, I might add.
I think that for me, that was always my favorite part of the industry and the business was being able to interact before a story hit the air and talk with you, see the process. Yeah. I love talking with John. I just love
the process is everything.
Yeah.
I was reading, I was trying to think, and here again, I forget who it was, but I was just reading it the other day, and there's this great theory about that I forget I guess I can't even think of the real concept, but it did really strike the chord with me, is that it is the process.
Yeah.
I love delivering the commentaries, for example. I love delivering the commentaries. But in all seriousness, the process of sitting at the computer and coming up with the argument or the different lines or the different flow to it or whatever, that was a hell of a lot more fun than that 2 minutes that it took me to read it on the air.
Sure.
And then after I read it on the air, all the feedback that came in, the good and the bad, which I considered more of the process, if you will,
Right, yeah.
that was the best part. The actual culmination of the project itself, I'm like in your business of production, and I know how, God, I've said this to Greg 1,000 times, but I mean, some of the stuff that I would see you guys do, you just blow me away.
Oh, thank you.
And I would think, and I don't know if this is true or not, I mean, there has to be a certain amount of satisfaction with the finished product.
Definitely.
Yeah,
process
for sure.
of getting it there, that process of, ooh, what if I try this? What if I put this in? How about if we cut out here and add this? I would think that would be even more fun than I'm sure the enjoyment of the finished product, because I know what you guys did was unbelievable. But at the same time, how you got there, and this is the other thing, and this is incredibly arrogant, so I'll soften it by pointing it back to Greg. I would sit there, and the real enjoyment to me was there was a Mike Fisher, a sports writer in town, and I like Mike Fisher, and I think he likes me. I don't know, but they were doing a story about me on I don't know, the Washington Post or something, and Mike Fisher's quote was about my commentaries. Dale writes about families and doing the right thing and propping kids up. Duh. How hard is that? And I told him, why don't you write it? I said, I'm getting national recognition for what you say are just cookie cutter commentaries about sportsmanship and fair play and family values or, whatever. I said, why don't you write it? Instead of being the Fort Worth Star-Telegram beat writer or the Cowboys.com writer, gee, you could be interviewed by the Washington Post and the New York Times, and you could get these awards. And and I'm sitting there putting it back to you guys. And I look at Greg and I said, and I think I've said this to you before, there has to be an unbelievable feeling that when you put something together and then you see the finished product, yes, I would think there's a great deal of satisfaction with just how good it is. But to me, the greater satisfaction would be knowing very few people, if any, can do it. And I'm serious as a heart attack about this. And you know I am, Greg, when I talk about you especially, because of some of the direct things we've been involved in.
Right.
What you created, yes, it was brilliant. But I would think half the fun of that is being able to sit back and go, not only did I create it, nobody else could have. And that's why I'm not saying nobody else could write my commentaries. Even I'm not that arrogant. But it does offend me when people would say, oh, well, gee, that's obvious. Yeah, that's not a problem. No, we all know that. Well, then why don't you write it?
Yeah.
I'm getting national awards.
Why do you think
based on these commentaries? And you chose not to write them because of what? You didn't want to get a national award? You didn't want to get 6,000 emails? You didn't want to get an extra bump on your paycheck when Channel 8, this is one of my favorite stories. Channel 8 was cutting my salary. And again, I'm not whining. You understand that, Greg? You know that, but I'm saying they were cutting it to a point where I just didn't want to do it anymore. I said, I'm not going to do it. And I wrote a commentary that night about Art Briles down at Baylor. And, Mike Devlin's wife rolls over in bed as Mike tells the story. Judy rolls over and looks at Mike and says, who you going to have that can do that? And Mike came in the next day, and let's just say I got a rather substantial increase in his offer.
Oh, there you go.
That's so
it was a substantial increase in the offer. And so I'm sitting there saying to people when they would make fun of my commentaries or belittle my commentaries, gee, why don't you write them? maybe you'd make a little bit more money. Maybe you'd get some national awards. And that did bug. But again, it's back to that process. So when I would write something, half the time I'm reading it out loud to the computer. And sometimes I'm kind of laughing, depending on what the point is or what the argument is. And I'm sorry, if this is arrogant, so be it. But I said, I go, not only do I think this is pretty good, not only do I think this will spark a response from the audience, I'm cocky enough to tell you, you don't really have anybody else right now who can write it. And that was my satisfaction. That was the fun of the job.
I mean, there's definitely no one else doing it.
The money and the plaques that came after were all good. I'm not denying it. But the process is the thrill of it. I mean, it's the absolute thrill. And if people can't find, like I was saying in that clip you ran earlier from my farewell, if you can't find the happiness of that, which I always managed to do right up until the very end, it was fun. It was just absolutely fun. And then once it got to a point where, this really isn't fun anymore, and I really am doing it just for a paycheck, I'm out. And that's what happened. And I haven't really ever looked back. Well, except every other Friday, of course.
Well, here we are a year out, Dale, and you took some time off. People have, you told me this previously, that, other people have tried to get you to, maybe try to do a podcast or whatever. And for a while you weren't ready, but now you're ready. Right. Now you're ready, and you have one possibly coming up. I want to let you talk about that a little bit and what you want to do specifically for your podcast.
Well, I appreciate that. We're planning on starting it. We're shooting right now for like the middle of September. I just ordered all the equipment. I'm just going to do it out of my house, which was a big part of me doing this. I'm going to set up a little studio, I guess, or whatever you call it, a little mini studio in my house.
By the grill at the pool.
Yeah, do it out by the pool maybe or something, but which will really tick off some people. But no, we're going to do it in the house. And I basically want it to be, and this is what I said to you the other day, I really want it to be like my sportscast on steroids. I'm going to talk sports. I'm going to talk a lot of sports. But I'm also going to talk a lot about the social issues that I've talked about in my commentaries on Channel 8. I'm going to talk about politics. I'm going to talk about all of it.
I've always been afraid of this day because I've always known this day was coming. My dad said that to me when my mom died, and now I understand just a little bit of what he felt that day. A part of me does die tonight. Maybe the best part, certainly the favorite part, because this is my life. It was the life I could only dream about as a little boy in that small farm town in Iowa. It is the life I chose. When my first wife said I had to choose between this life and her, I chose this life. My kids never did forgive me for that, but I could have never been the father they wanted anyway if I didn't have the life I wanted. I have loved everything about my life, the places I've been, the teams I've covered, the people I've met, and the people I've worked with for the past 38 years here, 41 years in Dallas, and 50 years since I spun that first record as a disc jockey in Iowa. But 6 stations later, fired from 5 of them, and a 13-week contract when I started here. There were days I didn't think I'd make the 13 weeks, but here we are. I'd like to name each and every one of the great and talented people I've worked with, but I'm 73 now, and I want to be done before I'm 74, and I wouldn't be. It was the SMU investigation in '86 that led to the end of their football team's glory years that changed my life. It changed the way I covered sports, and it played a very big part in making me the person I am. I've said several times I hated the fact that SMU story had to be told, but I'm incredibly proud of the fact we were the ones who told it. I knew then my life had to be about more than ball scores and highlights, and I will be forever grateful this station gave me the platform and the opportunity to talk about gay rights in America, the gun violence in our cities, the racism that my granddaughter has lived with every day of her life. This station has allowed me to talk about the issues that really matter. I have been told I make the conservative viewer uncomfortable. That was never my intent, but I do hope I did. I think a good commentary should make everybody uncomfortable, and I think the news should too. We do not provide the public service we should by reporting only the good news. We shouldn't sanitize what can be dirty and harsh and, yes, uncomfortable. Television has to be more than sitcoms and cop shows. We need to take people out of their bubbles and their safe place and make them think about the world we live in. It is the only thing I've ever really wanted to do, was to simply make you think about the things I think we should all think about. But I've survived 41 years on Dallas TV because the great Denny Livingston taught me how. If you don't have a Denny Livingston in your life, I strongly encourage you to find one. He makes dreams come true. It was Danny who taught me in Omaha to cover the kids, to tell their stories. They'll watch, mom and dad will watch, and the grandparents will too. And now 41 years later, some of those kids I've talked about on Thank God for Kids, they're the grandparents now. And some of those kids we've talked about on Thank God for Kids, they will be kids forever and sleep with angels tonight. Dolly Parton said it perfectly in a song she wrote. If I should stay, I would only be in your way. So I'll go, but I know I'll think of you every step of the way, and I will always love you. I will always love you for letting that little boy in that small farm town in Iowa live out his dream and grow old in Texas. I wish you all the very best, and I do hope you can all find a little of the happiness in your life that you have all made possible in mine. There will be no more TV tomorrows from me. So for everyone who's been a part of this one, and all of these 41 years, I'm Dale Hansen. I really do thank you for watching. Good night and goodbye.
Well. That's Dale.
Wow.
I still remember seeing that night.
Yeah, same here.
Edit most of that show.
I think you edited. I was in the morning show, so I didn't see that, but I did watch that show that night.
Yeah, the open was it was fun to do the taxi open again. Yeah. I mean, I wish I could play it, but it's got the taxi theme music. I love that it
was the same guy who originally, the same taxi driver.
Yeah, that was a cool moment, and I just remember they told me they want me to do it to where he's driving around town in the cab, and you can see him in the car, you can see all different Dallas sights, right? But then at the same time, he's like kind of like he's thinking like in the car, and you see him, but all these moments flash, like huge sports moments flash.
The SMU and the Cowboys and different things.
Super Bowls, all kinds of things. Like Nolan Ryan, I think, was one of them when he did of his things, and even Tiger Woods, I think, made the cut on that.
Okay, yeah, I don't remember all that,
but well, I do.
Yeah, you worked way on it. You worked on it much more differently than I did.
I created the
Yeah.
So, and it's very different news open, but and there was a lot of breaking news. I feel like that particular day, and the fact that they still maintained giving him that day the way that is. But I mean, But I remember there was some like big time news happening. I can't remember what it was, but I do remember there were some big stories.
That place always cracks me up at how sometimes they would get a little too laser focused on things.
I love my sports.
I'll just text Joe and ask him.
I love my WFAA sports. So.
I'll text Mike or text Joe and ask him.
Yeah.
I just don't.
Well, still a closeness to that place. And anyway, but yeah, Dale 38 years. He's done us right too, and in the conversation we had with him,
which leads to the fact that in the first episode we say the 3-part. This is
my goodness, we said 3. Then we were like maybe a 4, and now we found out why we because I mean obviously we're wearing. Well, I think I'm wearing the same shirt, but he's not. Neither one of us are wearing hats.
That's
the camera angle is different.
Yeah,
I mean, obviously we had to do some reshoot
episode
for the edit.
5 episodes.
Yeah, I mean,
which is amazing.
So now this is the end of 4, which we thought the end of 4 was going to be the real true ending we
Right.
did that day.
Not so much.
But now it's we have to have a part 5.
Which I'm fine with.
Yeah, I mean, I could have made the last one an hour. I just felt like
No, I like the break.
I feel like 30 minutes, is enough.
See,
And
now I feel like if we get other big name people that sit down with us, we're gonna have to do 5-parters for them too. Like,
I just don't know if someone will
if
talk.
John McKay talks to us, or
Dale
Gloria talks to us.
But with Dale, it's so easy. 'Cause one, he loves talking to me and telling me all his war stories
Right.
and poker.
Yeah,
So that in
is
itself it makes it easy.
True.
And I think one of our episodes is almost all poker, and it wasn't the one we thought.
was
It
the
was
second
actually, I think, the one we thought was. We did an intro and said it was like really, really more Dell, and it ended up being a lot of poker.
It's funny.
But
I'm all right with that.
yeah. Anyway,
So-
yeah, this one's getting probably a little long now. But anyway, it's this time.
Word of the day.
Word of the day.
Word of the day.
Word of the day.
I like it.
All right. Well, that is now officially word of the day.
Intro music for word of the day.
And the first word is hot. And we're not talking about heat right now,
Or
even
good-looking
though
ladies.
it is 90 something degrees. Well, not hot as it was, not that long ago.
No.
But hot. What does hot mean when usually they're talking about movie set production?
What we're doing currently at this very
Like,
second.
oh, so like it's live,
Yeah,
almost
or
like live.
Recorded.
Yeah, but there's all kinds of ways they use hot though,
That's
like
true.
a hot gun, a hot set, a hot.
So
Mike?
I would say then hot gun obviously means that there's ammunition in the weapon.
Right.
Obviously. Hot set means that they're probably rolling.
Yeah.
I would assume. Hot mic is definitely the microphone.
We're
is
talking
on.
in it,
And
and you
understand,
hear us.
if the mic is plugged in, always assume it's hot.
Yes,
There
yes.
have been people in this
very
world
famous
who've-
people have
Yeah.
found out the hard way that
But yeah.
that is a hot mic.
A hot mic is when you talk. Hot mic is when you're talking and the microphone
telling
is
something
on.
you probably shouldn't,
Yeah, and the microphone is on.
and it's on.
Yep.
AKA Rick just a while ago.
Yeah.
Hey,
Hot mic.
hey, what was our other word? We had a second word because we always do 2 words.
Oh, what did we say the other one was? We said it was going to be, did we say no, not standby.
Standby.
Was it standby?
Well,
Or
I mean, we
standby's
could
just
do
standby?
standby.
Oh my God, we thought about these.
It was a floor direct command.
I thought it was standby.
Standby is what I thought.
I mean, standby is just literally we're counting down. You're going to be live in about 10 seconds.
Yeah,
you tell
I mean,
people to
it's
stand
about
by.
to happen, but you're about to be hot,
Yeah, you're about to go from standby to hot.
even though it already is hot.
Right.
If that makes sense.
That's funny.
Like it's probably hot. The mic's hot, but
Yeah.
it's not live
Right.
or taping. Like
Yeah. You're not going out in some form of broadcast capacity.
yeah, but standby. It doesn't mean you're standbying somebody. Standing
By somebody.
standing by something. But I can't talk today.
That's all good.
Anyway, so yeah, hot and standby.
Which go together. We should have done standby first. Then hot.
Yeah. Won't you stand by me? Yeah.
Oh, Greg's singing.
Stand by me. Oh,
Thank God the music's playing.
Stand
Like, share, subscribe,
stand
follow. Please
by
share this.
me. Won't
Oh,
you
Greg,
stand,
I'll stand by you.
by me?
Oh.
All right, that was Dell, part 4.
Part 5. Stay tuned. See you in a couple days.